After what I can only assume Ryan Reynolds thought was a triumphant appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary, he must not have loved seeing Colin Jost come back to Saturday Night Live last night with a joke at his wife Blake Lively's expense.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. How's it going?
Great. Why? What did you hear? Yeah, okay. Look, my question is, you know this? Yeah, okay. Look, my question...
Harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
What happens now? But we have a few more characters already in the beginning of the first season that come in and mess up our lives even more. We start in the Hamptons, which is a staple of New York socialites that you haven't yet seen.
Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them. I'm just kidding.
You got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke.
Right, so you know who Blake Lively is, right? Most people know her. Yeah, see, the people who are booing, they know. Then there's this guy, Justin Baldoni, who's not as well known. And yeah, see, they've been following the story. So he optioned this book called It Ends With Us, and it's about domestic violence. And he managed to get Blake Lively to star in his movie across from him. He played the guy and she played the woman.
Did Blake Lively really just get roasted on live TV? Well, that's what everyone's saying, and now her reaction has the internet buzzing. So, what actually happened? Let's break it all down. Ryan Reynolds probably thought his appearance on Saturday Night Live's 50th anniversary would be a win. But that victory turned awkward fast when Colin Jost, co-host of Weekend Update, cracked a joke about Blake Lively, Ryan's wife. Ouch. And to top it off, Colin is married to Scarlett Johansson, who just happens to be Ryan's ex-wife. Yep, things just got messier.
Zelensky was asked to leave the White House. Then he appeared on Fox News and said he thinks he can still salvage his relationship with President Trump, which is like Justin Baldoni saying, I'd love to work with Blake again.
What was supposed to be a fun celebration of 5 decades of comedy turned into a pretty brutal takedown of Hollywood's favorite power couple. Suddenly, everyone was calling Ryan and Blake hypocrites, and social media was eating it up.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
Self-deprecating humor. Okay, I really do. But your wife is in the midst of a sexual harassment lawsuit. Why are you making jokes? Okay, so right here is Kevin Costner. I'm going to play the clip again and watch him, because as soon as Ryan starts talking, he looks at Blake because he's like, I want to see her reaction.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Now here's where things get weird. Ryan was recently caught making some eyebrow-raising comments about staring at a stranger while they were feeding their baby. Not a great look, especially since Blake herself had previously spoken out about a similar situation. Talk about bad timing. Oh, and let's not forget the awkward Oscars moment. Ryan showed up in his Deadpool suit. And let's be real, no one was feeling it. People barely clapped, which was super awkward. Plus, a sandworm playing the piano got a better reaction than Deadpool did. Yikes.
Joking about how you and your wife essentially tried to leverage by accusing him of harassment is not amazing. It's not an amazing look. I think it's going to do serious career damage to Ryan Reynolds, and by the evidence, it probably should.
Meanwhile, Blake's co-star Brandon Scar wasn't exactly winning people over either. Apparently, this guy's known for being painfully boring in interviews. Seriously, if you've got nothing interesting to say, why bother showing up on the red carpet? It's not like people won't ask you about the drama, so dodging questions only makes things worse. Brandon seems to be staying out of the whole mess, unlike director Paul Feig, who's playing it safe by staying friendly with Blake since they've got a movie coming out together. Smart move, Paul. No one wants to trash their co-star right before a big release.
Another day comes yet another clip that makes both Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively look like massive hypocrites. I just can't get over how many are coming in. Yeah, Ryan Reynolds is now caught talking about staring at a stranger who was feeding their baby. And it sounds so bad given Blake's complaint now. I can't even. Also, we got to talk about Deadpool showing up at the Oscars. And Blake's co-star, Blandon Scanar. My God, he's so boring. This guy on the red carpet is just so vapid and interesting. If you got nothing to say, dude, don't go to the interviews trying to make yourself a thing, because you know you're going to get pressed this question. And every time he gets answered now, he wants nothing to do with supporting Blake, which is the complete opposite of Paul Feig, who has a movie coming out starring Blake. So he's got to be nice. Of course, he wants his movie to do well. It wouldn't be good to be crapping on his co-star right before.
For years, Ryan and Blake had everyone convinced they were Hollywood's perfect couple, the funny, lovable duo with playful Instagram banter and a picture-perfect family. But lately, that image has been falling apart, especially since their legal battle with director Justin Baldoni made headlines. Their SNL appearance was supposed to mark their big return to the spotlight. Instead, they doubled down on the drama and tried to joke their way out of it. And let's just say, it didn't land.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. How's it going?
Great. Why? What did you hear? Yeah, okay. My question is that, you know, yeah, okay. My question is that, you know, that the materials that they made the cone heads with, are those edible? So if somebody, you know, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage and, you know, got excited, should they go to the hospital or should they? Yeah. Should they go to the hospital or should they? Are those edible? Yeah, okay. Well, my question is, so if somebody, you know, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage and, you know, got somebody, you know, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage and, you know, got excited, should they go to the hospital or should they? Backstage and, you know, got excited, should they go to the hospital or should they?
So here's the thing, there's more to this story, and it involves Justin Baldoni. Now, you know how SNL jokes can be super last minute, right? Apparently the show's writers are often scribbling jokes on cue cards just minutes before the show starts, sometimes getting high off Sharpie fumes in the process. Crazy, right?
I'm unaware of anybody, frankly, whose wife has been harassed and has made jokes about that type of situation.
The way SNL works is that they shoot an episode a couple of hours before the live show, like around 9 or 10 p.m. They record it, but it doesn't air right away. Depending on how the audience reacts, they tweak things before the final broadcast. So if a joke completely flops, they might just cut it all together.
This story, Justin Baldoni. Now, as you know, these jokes are written like sometimes up until the minute. They literally have cue card guys in the back getting high off the fumes of Sharpies, writing these jokes down as they sort of adjust depending on the times. They shoot an episode 2 hours beforehand, like 9 or 10 p.m. They shoot an episode. They don't air it, they just record it, and depending on how the audience reacts, they'll adjust things. So if a joke bombs and you don't believe in it, you might cut it. And I say that because there was a lot of discussion about Ryan Reynolds and the joke he told and how he rewrote it for the crew. That's super normal. If he's going to be the person saying something out loud, he has input on what is said. In the end, if they don't think it's funny, they'll let him know and they'll collaborate in that direction. But it wasn't that the joke wasn't funny because the audience laughed. It was that when you break down the joke that Ryan Reynolds said, you realize kind of like oh man, imagine if the genders were reversed. This would be an absolute monstrous thing to make fun of.
That's exactly why people started talking about Ryan Reynolds and that awkward joke he told. Word is, he actually rewrote part of the joke himself, but that's pretty normal. If an actor's delivering a line, they usually get some say in what they say. In the end, if the team thinks the joke's a dud, they'll either cut it or tweak it together. The thing is, the joke did get laughs. So it wasn't that people thought it wasn't funny, it was just kind of bad when you actually stopped to think about it. Some even pointed out that if the joke had been reversed, flipping the roles, it would have come off way worse. And honestly, that's probably true.
And everyone laughs and Blake turned her head. She had that whole thing planned. It's like, oh, I'll look at him, all dramatic. I mean, come on.
Come on. You would think that they would maybe be laying low, but I guess not.
The moment things really went sideways was when SNL legends Tina Fey and Amy Poehler threw Ryan what should have been an easy, lighthearted question, the kind of thing he could have played cool with. But instead, he shot back with an awkward response that instantly shifted the mood. The room didn't burst out laughing like usual. Instead, there was that uncomfortable forced chuckle, the kind you hear when people are cringing inside. Even big names like Steven Spielberg were visibly uncomfortable. Meanwhile, Blake Lively was right beside him, and her face said it all. She knew Ryan had just messed up big time. You'd think they'd keep things low-key after that, right? Nope. Things went from bad to worse when Colin Jost stepped on stage. Now, Colin, who's married to Scarlett Johansson, Ryan's ex by the way, wasn't about to let things slide. He delivered a joke that hit hard. It wasn't just a typical SNL roast. It felt like Hollywood itself was sending a message. The room froze for a second before people laughed, but that brief pause, that's when it hit. Hollywood had officially turned on Blake Lively. The couple's golden image cracked wide open. Looks like Hollywood's patience with Blake Lively had finally run out. For months, she had been trying to control the story surrounding her lawsuit with Justin Baldoni, acting like she was the victim while brushing off the accusations against her and Ryan Reynolds. But after taking so many hits to her reputation, things only got worse. That awkward moment on SNL? Yeah, that was the tipping point.
Meanwhile, over the weekend, SNL did its 50th anniversary tribute, and there was one moment that seemed to stand out. That was a moment where Tina Fey and Amy Poehler called out Ryan Reynolds in the audience, and it was a little awkward.
I have a question.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds.
Hi.
Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Joking about how you and your wife essentially tried to leverage by accusing him of sexual harassment is not amazing. It's not an amazing look. I think it's going to do serious career damage to Ryan Reynolds, and by the evidence, it probably should.
When Colin Jost cracked that joke about her, it didn't just land, it hit like a wrecking ball. This wasn't just some playful roast, it felt like a clear message from Hollywood itself. Blake wasn't untouchable anymore. Her golden image as America's sweetheart totally shattered.
I defend Justin Baldoni in this lawsuit with Blake Lively because I think she's horrible and she's made up this whole thing because she tried to steal his movie. But he is the most overly feminized man I've had to endure in recent history. Everything he says is self-flagellating over the fact that he's a man. But he's, to me, is sort of the embodiment of what happens when you totally emasculate a man. And then she continued, she took that stiletto and stuck it in his heart when he was down there self-flagellating, being so sorry for anything having to do with his testosterone. And so that's what happens to you, right? You run into somebody who seems like a witch who will take advantage of you and hurt you until finally even that kind of a guy rises up. Now, he didn't do it himself exactly. He hired a badass named Brian Friedman. And he has badass women like me defending him. Mm-hmm. But slowly but surely, I think the male class is learning down on the floor, squirming and apologizing for being a man is not the way.
And to make things even wilder, reports started flying that Blake had hired a crisis PR expert, the same person who was involved in covering up Hunter Biden's laptop scandal. Yep, this whole thing just kept getting messier and messier. Now, to really get why things spiraled like this, we've got to go back to where it all started. The movie It Ends With Us. This was Justin Baldoni's passion project for years, something he had poured his heart into. But once Blake Lively was cast in the lead role, things got chaotic. Rumor has it that Blake started demanding all sorts of control over the production, pushing Baldoni out of his own movie. And guess who was right there backing her up? Ryan Reynolds. Instead of staying out of the drama, Ryan reportedly played a big part in forcing Baldoni off the project. By early 2024, this whole thing had blown up into a serious legal battle. Baldoni ended up suing both Blake and Ryan, accusing them of manipulation, shady power moves, and even sabotaging his career. But instead of facing things directly, the couple tried to flip the narrative. Ryan apparently used his star power to paint Baldoni as the bad guy. But as more details came out, people started seeing through it. One major turning point, Ryan's weird decision to drag this whole thing into his Deadpool and Wolverine promo campaign. Instead of keeping it professional, Ryan kept throwing sneaky jabs at Baldoni in the marketing. What was supposed to be a fun superhero promo started feeling like a personal grudge match, and it wasn't a good look. Fans weren't buying it, and Hollywood wasn't either. The whole thing made Ryan look less like his usual charming self and more like a guy desperately trying to control the story, and failing miserably. Blake Lively's troubles just kept piling up. Things got even worse when an interview with journalist Kirsty Flahavan exposed a completely different side of her, one that wasn't so charming. Flahavan had asked a simple, polite question, but Lively's response came off as sharp and dismissive. It didn't take long for people to notice, and fans quickly turned on her. Even the media, which had once praised her flawless image, started changing their tone. Suddenly, it seemed like no one was willing to defend her anymore.
All right, so you know who Blake Lively is, right? Most people know her. Yeah, see, the people who are booing, they know. Then there's this guy, Justin Baldoni, who's not as well known. And see, they've been following the story. So he optioned this book called It Ends With Us, and it's about domestic violence. And he managed to get Blake Lively to star in his movie, across from him. He played the guy and she played the woman.
But things didn't stop there. The biggest shocker came when reports revealed that Lively had secretly hired an ex-CIA crisis manager to clean up her PR mess. This move, intended to be low-key, only made things worse. After months of accusing Justin Baldoni of manipulating the media with PR tricks, here she was doing the exact same thing, except even more aggressively. People couldn't ignore the hypocrisy, and her reputation took another hit. Meanwhile, Ryan Reynolds wasn't exactly playing the innocent husband. Turns out, he was right in the middle of all the behind-the-scenes drama. Word spread that back in March 2024, Reynolds had met with key Hollywood execs to plot ways to push Baldoni out of his own project. Witnesses even claimed Reynolds was aggressive and determined to take control, a far cry from the chill, fun-loving guy he'd built his brand around. By the time January 2025 rolled around, things had gone from bad to worse. Reynolds was now officially named in Baldoni's lawsuit, and Hollywood wasn't having it. Studios started backing away, his co-stars stopped publicly supporting him, and several of his upcoming projects suddenly seemed up in the air. For someone who had spent years being Hollywood's most likable star, this was a massive fall from grace. Meanwhile, Blake Lively's image was also crumbling. Insiders began spilling tea about her behavior on set. Former Gossip Girl cast members shared stories about past conflicts, and crew members from It Ends With Us spoke up about her alleged control issues. On top of that, whispers started resurfacing about how Lively had tried to sideline Penn Badgley during Gossip Girl. The more people talked, the clearer it became. Her A-list image was more of an act than reality. To make things even messier, a 2009 Glamour UK interview with Lively resurfaced, revealing something shocking. In that interview, Lively had admitted to intentionally turning the entire Gossip Girl cast against Penn Badgley at first. She later admitted she realized Penn wasn't a bad guy, but the damage had already been done. Stories like this just kept adding fuel to the fire, and her once polished reputation was now in shambles.
A 2009 Glamour UK interview by Blake Lively, and in her interview, she admitted to trying to poison the cast of Gossip Girl, which is where she made her name, against her co-star Penn Badgley, who played her love interest, Dan Humphrey, on the show. She said, "At first I was so upset that they had hired him, I actually poisoned the whole cast against him." And she goes on to say, "But then they noticed that he wasn't a jerk and was actually a nice, charming person, and almost immediately I realized it too. But it took me about a week to admit it." And here's the thing. Reports were that Blake Lively and Leighton Meester, who played best friends on that show, were not friends during the 6-season run of the show. Leighton Meester and Penn Badgley and other Gossip Girl co-stars have remained silent in the wake of the Baldoni legal drama. Neither Meester nor Badgley follow Lively on Instagram.
Turns out Blake Lively and Leighton Meester, who played besties on Gossip Girl, weren't exactly close in real life. Reports claim the two didn't get along during the entire 6 seasons of the show, and when the whole Justin Baldoni lawsuit drama started brewing, both Meester and Penn Badgley stayed silent. To top it off, neither of them even follows Lively on Instagram anymore, which says a lot.
I think I'm just brunette because of the books.
Everyone knows blondes are nicer anyway. A moment by me.
In Gossip Girl, just about everything has happened. Unbelievable. No, you'd be surprised how much hasn't happened. You know, at the end of the first season, I was like, okay, well, what happens now? But we have a few more characters already in the beginning of the first season that come in and mess up our lives even more. We start in the Hamptons, which is a staple of New York socialites that you haven't yet seen. And, you know, we've all kind of dated each other, so we have to date more people or each other's parents. And I don't know.
Chuck has a matching pet monkey with coordinating outfits, and I was like, I would love to be part of the show, but I can't act with a monkey. And then I got a few of them.
You got a few of them.
Come on, it was a joke.
With every new scandal, Ryan and Blake's power couple status kept slipping away. Their big comeback moment was supposed to be SNL's 50th anniversary special, but instead, it ended up being the moment everything crashed down. Colin Jost's joke wasn't just a random dig, it felt like Hollywood's way of saying, "We're done with you." The silence from their celebrity friends afterward? Brutal. For a couple who once seemed untouchable, they were now the ultimate cautionary tale, a reminder of what happens when you start believing your own hype. Meanwhile, Justin Baldoni may have lost his movie, It Ends With Us, but in the end, he came out on top. Instead of dragging things out with messy PR stunts, Baldoni kept it classy. He stuck to professionalism while Reynolds and Lively tried to control the narrative, and people noticed. Hollywood respected Baldoni for staying calm and focused, proving he was the real winner in all this.
Blake Lively did not even read the book that the movie was based on.
Correct.
And we're not talking War and Peace. And then she wanted to, ixnayed all of the wardrobe choices, because when you're making a movie about a poor woman who's suffering from domestic violence, you want her to look like she has money.
Right.
That Blake said.
That's what she did.
She looks like she has money. Yep. And she's dressing in florals, and then she's going on this press tour pushing her liquor line and her hair care line, because that's what women who are trying to escape with their lives are worried about.
That's what generated her negative press and led to a series of clips of her being insensitive in one way, shape, or form with other interviewers in the past. She has no one to blame but herself for that.
The press tour is part of that pay package.
Right.
You have to show up with a smile on your face and be polite to people who are not lobbing, difficult questions at you. They're softball.
As for Ryan and Blake, things aren't looking great. Their attempt to laugh off the scandal totally backfired, and now they're facing an uphill battle to win back Hollywood's trust. The truth is, no amount of clever PR moves can erase what happened that night on SNL. Everyone saw through the act, and Hollywood isn't buying it anymore.
Did you guys see that clip of Blake and Ryan at the SNL 50 show? She looked stressed. I'm gonna play it for you in case you haven't seen it.
Oh, hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
Now, I get self-deprecating humor, okay, I really do, but your wife is in the midst of a sexual harassment lawsuit. Why are you making jokes? Okay, so right here is Kevin Costner. I'm gonna play the clip again and watch him, because as soon as Ryan starts talking, he looks at Blake because he's like, I wanna see her reaction.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds. Hey. Ryan Reynolds, how's it going?
Great. Why? What have you heard?
What's crazy is how fast their downfall happened. One minute they were untouchable, and the next, they were facing full-blown rejection. Sure, some celebrities managed to recover from scandals, but Ryan and Blake's mistake was thinking they could charm their way out of accountability. Turns out, Hollywood's got no patience for fake apologies and carefully staged Instagram posts. The damage was done, and this time it might just be too big to fix. Blake Lively spent years building an image of herself as a strong, independent woman, a feminist icon who controlled her own career and thrived in Hollywood against the odds. For a long time, people saw her as someone who made success look easy. But behind all that glam and charm, there were some questionable decisions that painted a very different picture. Rumors about her behavior on set, her need to control everything, and her strained relationships with co-stars kept surfacing. Bit by bit, her carefully crafted image started to fall apart. Then there's Ryan Reynolds. He was known as Hollywood's lovable guy, the funny, self-deprecating star who balanced blockbuster fame with relatable charm. But when the Baldoni lawsuit hit, things changed. Instead of taking the high road, Ryan leaned into jokes and even started throwing subtle digs at Baldoni. Suddenly, people weren't laughing with Ryan. They were laughing at him. That whole charming, likable persona, gone in a flash. But this wasn't just about the lawsuit anymore. The backlash came down to how the couple had handled fame and power. Hollywood thrives on image, and once that illusion shatters, it's nearly impossible to fix. More stories kept piling up. Reports that Ryan had pressured Sony execs behind the scenes, and whispers about Blake's diva behavior on set. It became painfully clear that they had pushed things too far. Insiders started claiming studios were backing away from Ryan. Projects he was once locked into quietly faded from his schedule. Meanwhile, Blake, who had been in talks for major roles, found herself facing closed doors faster than they could open. The rumors weren't just about the lawsuit anymore. People started wondering if they had simply become too toxic to work with. And while Hollywood distanced itself, the internet had a field day. The SNL drama became the hot topic, with side-by-side comparisons of Blake's awkward interviews, Ryan's shady Hollywood tactics, and Baldoni's calm, composed responses. Fans who once adored Blake and Ryan started questioning if the couple had ever been as genuine as they seemed. The internet's sympathy, firmly with Baldoni.
But then there was also Anya Taylor-Joy and Bad Bunny, who could not even muster up a smile as Ryan was talking.
Great. Why? What have you heard? Okay. My question is that you know that the materials that they made the cone heads with are those edible? Oh, okay. So if somebody, hypothetically took a couple of nibbles backstage and got excited, should they go to the hospital or should they?
Can you imagine the gossip in celebrity circles? Oh my God, it's probably so good. It sucks because I'm sure that these people have opinions that they will never be able to publicly disclose.
How's it going?
Great.
And I just want to point out that he is looking at Blake Lively here because he wants to see her reaction. And y'all know we would be doing the same thing.
What have you heard? Yeah, okay. My question is that you know that the materials that they made the cone heads with are those edible?
Someone also brought it to my attention that Miss Anya Taylor-Joy was not impressed. Watch her. She rolls her eyes.
Got excited. Should they go to the hospital or should they?
Yeah.
Hospital or should they?
If your wife was S-age, would you be making a joke about it?
The contrast couldn't have been clearer. Baldoni handled things professionally, while Blake and Ryan turned it into a chaotic spectacle. The media kept digging deeper, and more insiders, ex-co-stars, and even reporters who had once praised the couple started speaking out. Suddenly, all the cracks in their perfect image were impossible to ignore. Things just kept getting worse for Ryan Reynolds and Blake Lively. Stories about their controlling behavior, behind-the-scenes drama, and tough negotiations started piling up, and their once flawless image was starting to crumble right before everyone's eyes. But the fallout didn't stop in Hollywood. Big brands that used to proudly partner with the couple were now backing away. Advertising deals, once easy money for them, started disappearing. While they weren't exactly canceled, they were definitely feeling the heat, and there was no ignoring the damage anymore. Even their most loyal fans started to question things. Social media exploded with people digging into their past, from Lively's rumored feuds with co-stars to Reynolds' rumored strong-arm tactics in Hollywood. The more people looked, the more it became clear their downfall wasn't random. This had been building up for years. Once hailed as Hollywood's golden couple, Ryan and Blake's attempt to control the "it ends with us" narrative was a disaster. Not only did they lose the trust of the industry, but their picture-perfect image was wrecked. The untouchable power couple? Not anymore. Now they were facing the same brutal industry backlash that had crushed plenty of stars before them. But here's the thing. What happens next? Would Ryan try to laugh it off and turn the scandal into some quirky career moment? Would Blake disappear for a while and come back with a fresh new image? Or would they both quietly fade into Hollywood's once popular list of stars who lost their shine? One thing's for sure. That SNL appearance was supposed to be their big comeback moment. Instead, it ended up sealing their fate. Hollywood had moved on, and this time there was no charming Instagram post or clever joke that could fix it. But what do you think about this? Let us know in the comments. That's it for today's video. If you liked it, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more updates. Stay tuned.